Hello, good day to me, and the analyst Talkin, really. It will be no surprise to any disabled people out there that the DWP have inflicted psychological harm all of these last years, 10, 12 years minimum, but they have the audacity to actually admit to doing it, which is the latest article from Disability News. So let's have a look at that. The DWP staff admit inflicting psychological harm on claimants during coalition years. So basically that is anything before Theresa May, but not Cameron. And obviously we all know what Cameron did. Cameron was one that started this the whole thing off. And it's continued.
Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, staff and managers deliberately inflicted psychological harm on benefit claimants, engaged in unofficial sanctioning targets, and pushed disabled people into work despite the risks to their health, shocking new testimony has revealed. The evidence comes from new interviews with 10 civil servants who worked for the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, and its contractors under the coalition government between 2010 and 2015. They spoke, on the condition of strict anonymity, to academics from Sheffield Hallam University, who have now shown how the introduction of a more punitive social security system, with harsher benefit sanctions and conditionality, inflicted years of institutional violence on claimants between 2010 and 2015. The authors, Dr. Jamie Redman and Professor Delroy Fletcher, believe it is the first time that research has explained how DWP workers have been able to commit such harmful acts on benefit claimants in vulnerable and precarious situations. The two academics build on the work of the Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, who described how modern bureaucracies can produce psychosocial factors that enable ordinary people to carry out harmful practices. They describe how a change in DWP policy through the new Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government elected in May 2010 pressured DWP staff to refer more claimants to have their benefits sanctioned. The policy changes also saw the performance of job centre staff measured by off-benefit flows, the number of claimants who stopped receiving an out-of-work benefit, even if those people had not secured a job. This helped lead to a huge increase in sanctioning rates between 2010 and 2013, reaching more than 1 million sanctions in 2013 and rising about 345% above their 2001-08 average level. For their research, Redman and Fletcher interviewed a Job Centre Plus, JCP, manager, 3 JCP frontline staff members, 1 work programme frontline worker who had previously worked for JCP, 1 DWP decision maker, and 4 work programme frontline staff. They were told how top-down pressure on staff, through sanctioning tables, and off-flow targets that were legitimised by the government, acted as a moral anaesthetic which made invisible the needs and interests of the claimants they were sanctioning. This allowed workers to view their caseloads with what Bauman called ethical indifference. One JCP worker described how staff would often treat claimants with disrespect and use psychological harm as a technique to reduce the number of people claiming benefits, pushing them until they either just cleared off because they couldn't take the pressure or they got sanctioned. An executive officer in another Job Centre Plus office also said that some staff tried to antagonize claimants in the hope that they would drop their claims. While DWP denied at the time that there were any sanctioning targets, the former DWP staff interviewed for the research said there was increasing expectation from above to hand out sanctions, which led to the formation of local target regimes. One JCP executive officer said staff would come into the canteen and say, "Well, I've got my sanctions target for the week." Another worker described how non-English-speaking claimants would be persuaded to sign claimant commitments that meant they had to provide evidence of their work search activities in English. When they were unable to provide this evidence, because their English was not strong enough, they were sanctioned. One manager tried to persuade staff to sanction more claimants by telling them, "It's your money. It's your taxes that they're living off. You know, you should be sanctioning them." One of those interviewed said that this kind of stigmatizing language became increasingly common in formal meetings. but these tactics were not restricted to JCP offices. Those who worked for outsourced work program providers, who were under financial pressure to find job outcomes for claimants, described how managers pressured them to push disabled people into work. One former work program advisor told the research team, "I had a lovely guy who I really felt for who had mental health issues, and the day after I had to reluctantly mandate him to something, he attempted suicide. I also had another lady who we pushed into work, and it made her till she had a fit in her new job, and was admitted to hospital." Another work program advisor said that some colleagues seemed to thrive on their ability to inflict harm, and enjoyed the stick. In their paper, Violent Bureaucracy, published last week in Critical Social Policy, Redman and Fletcher describe how the government and media had created and promoted a hostile environment for claimants, with the help of frequent scrounger rhetoric designed to blame claimants for austerity. This laid the groundwork for the introduction of a more punitive welfare-to-work system, with harsher sanctions and conditionality, and allowed the institutional violence of the DWP regime to thrive. Their research, they write, seeks to explain how ordinary people carrying out their daily duties in employment service offices were able to implement cruel and inhumane social security reforms. Redman told Disability News Service, DNS, that he believed the research could also help explain more recent, disturbing interactions between claimants and staff working for DWP and its contractors, including evidence that emerged in January at the inquest into the death of Philippa Day. And he pointed to the huge number of claimants who have relied on DWP support during the COVID-19 crisis, mostly through universal credit. He warned that historical evidence suggests that punitive reforms tend to thrive in the years after periods of economic crisis, as governments attempt to reduce the number of claimants, and push them back into work. After DNS asked DWP to respond to the article, a DWP spokesperson said, "This journal article does not reflect the compassionate support offered by our job centers day in, day out. Providing the best possible customer service and care is at the heart of what we do. We don't want to sanction anyone, and no one is sanctioned unless they fail to meet their agreed claimant commitment without good reason."
And there you go, that's the story today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's very interesting, but to be honest with you, nothing we didn't know already. We all know that they're vindictive, nasty, and everything that they do is deliberate. Have a good day. Catch you next video. Bye for now.